Sometimes it's good to just dance.
Welcome to the Good Stuff Family Podcast. I'm Dawn Kendrick, and I am so glad you're here. These are stories from the perspective of a news reporter on a next level assignment. Everyone has a story. Stories of hope, resilience, and how we believe God weaves people, relationships, opportunities, all of it for good. For many of us, faith leads our steps, others not so much. But that is what makes this growing Good Stuff family great. We know the journey is better together. Welcome to the family.
Got a suggestion. Sometimes it's good to just dance. Come along.
Good morning, January 17th, and it's Friday, which means we are all gathered around the virtual gratitude table for our best part of waking up is waking up. That's what we say. That's what we believe. We have a whole day in front of us to put 2 feet on the floor and to see the good in others and be the good for them. So thank you for joining us. As always, my faithful friend, Rich Smith, with us this morning. Good morning, Rich.
Good morning, Don. Good morning, Pastor Charles. And good morning, Good Stuff family. I hope everyone's well today.
I'm good. Pastor Charles, good morning.
Good morning, Dawn. Good morning, Rich. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's always good to have you. This says it all.
You got it.
Good morning, sunshine. Look at him. Look at him on his mug. He's got a mug with his face on it. I think we need to figure out how to get those produced. Isn't that great? Good morning, sunshine. That's the energy and the vibe we bring to the show. By the way, here we'll show this, that if you are listening in podcast mode and are wondering what we're talking about, you can go to the Good Stuff Family by Dawn Kendrick on YouTube and see the visuals that we'll be sharing this morning, and share and follow if you would when you're there. Subscribe. We'd be so grateful if you're inspired. That's how we grow the Good Stuff family tree, one branch at a time. Yeah, Rich?
It all starts with a seed, right? You got to plant that seed and watch it grow.
It's it. And that is kind of the whole analogy that we really, all of us, I know the three of us here and a lot of other people who follow the Good Stuff family, that's really what we're clinging to, is being rooted in a time of such, I guess turmoil is the word that comes to mind, but just being rooted in faith for a lot of us, and in the things that are important, the things that remain, the things that are the kind of a getting to have our feet grounded, even like the armor of God, like that kind of taking a stand type of thing. And that's what we do better together. Truly, we do that better together. And I'm just grateful for everyone who can listen in this morning and share. And I've got a couple things from this week that I just I know that God shows up. You feel that sometimes, you guys, how God shows up?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and everything. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's, for me, it's just being aware. So let's just set the tone here. Mindy Lee sent this morning. Let's just set the tone. When you take that first sip of coffee in the morning, look at her hands up, and like the praise. That's what we're proposing, that no matter what you're up against, to maybe just take a second to say, how do I see God at work in all of it, even in the stuff that we don't understand? And right out of the gate, I wanted to show this picture. This is Ryan and Aidan. Those are my neighbors who showed up when we had snowmageddon in St. Louis. People didn't know what to do with themselves. I think UPS canceled service for the first time in 30-something years, my friend said, who works there. You guys in Cleveland, Pastor Charles and Rich, you guys are still under a lot of it, aren't you?
Yeah, that's a Wednesday for us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I say, I believe from living in Cleveland, I'm not as sensitive to it here, so that I was like, come on, bring it. But then I was like, whoa, hold up. It was a lot for St. Louis. It seemed like a lot that we had. And so here come Ryan and Aidan knocking on the door. Can we shovel your driveway? And their dad had I'm going to call it a bobcat. I know that's not what it is. It wasn't that, but it was like a four-wheeler that with a plow or whatever. And they did the steps and everything. And so honestly, I felt like angels showed up right there on the porch.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
It was a lot to I wouldn't have, so yeah, when they say, "Can we just shovel your driveway?" I'm like, not just yes, but heck yes, and thank you, and they're just good kids, and they're hard workers, and they're kind, and they're respectful, and I realize as I say that out loud, I sound like the old lady who needs help down the street. They're the respectful whippersnappers, but nonetheless, I'm just thankful. I'm thankful. You guys have anything the same to report this week?
Yeah, I've got two things actually. The first one was, went through some medical testing. I was having some issues with my hands and feet and just not being able to warm up at all. So I didn't know what was going on, and um, met with my medical professional, and just trying to get the diabetes and stuff under control. So your mind spirals into different things. What's happening with that? And so she said, "Well, I've got good news and I've got bad news." She said, "The good news, all your tests came back fine. Your circulation's great." She said, "The bad news is you're just getting older and thinner and less of you to love."
Oh,
So, because I'm down about 140 pounds over the last 4 years,
really?
and
Is that
so
right,
yeah,
Rich?
yeah. And she said that you lose your weight in your hands, arms, and your legs and feet first. And so what's happening is the capillaries are rising to the skin level, and there's less insulation to keep it warm. So I was very grateful for that good news, but also a confirmation that I am getting older. So blessing and a curse. But and then the other thing that I'm very grateful for are my fur babies, because on these cold days is the ones that keep you warm, right? So we call
Yeah.
this one Luna. She takes an opportunity to lay anywhere, and she lays really long. So I call her a fur loaf.
Oh, I love
But
that.
she's always ready for a snuggle. And of course, there's never a morning where Rosie doesn't say good morning with that big smile of hers. So um, our angels with
Rosie.
paws. I know, isn't she
Yeah.
amazing?
Rosie
Yeah.
the rescue. Yeah,
Hmm.
here's our Lulu Bean. My Lulu, she's a rescue too. Lulu Grace, we call her, but she has those. Here's her headshot. It's better than mine, actually. Isn't that funny? It looks like she always has those eyes, like the side eye. She always gives the
Uh-huh.
side eye, I think, without
Hmm.
even trying to. But yeah, like I said, when we were snowed in, it would seem like one day runs to the next, especially I heard it with, from parents that you don't know what to do with yourself. Like when you're snowed in and you have these snow days, you think that you always wanted, but then I literally, you guys, I went to put my sweatpants on to take her for a walk, and I still had my jammy bottoms on, trying to put the pants over. And I thought, you know what, Lulu, we put our pants on one leg at a time, like everyone else, except wrong. Except wrong. We've been in our jammy bottoms so long. Speaking of legs, look how long leg she is.
Oh
Long leg
wow.
Lulu.
Wow.
Isn't she the greatest? But there's something about those fur babies, and well, they say dog spelled backwards is God. And
Yep.
I feel like there's so much comfort, especially for me, the rescue babies. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes they can look at you, just like look right through you.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
I
First
love
eye.
yeah, I love looking into their eyes, dogs and cats. I love them both. Don't get to spend much time with horses, but the horses are special too. I mean, God's creature. What my grandmother used to say, man is the dumbest animal on the planet.
Oh, and remember Dick Goddard, the iconic
Yeah,
weatherman,
my buddy,
meteorologist.
rest in peace. Yeah.
Yeah, he used to say that the meanest animals are the 2-foots.
Yep.
The 2-foots, not the 4-foots. Yeah.
Yep.
So, when you were talking, Rich, about getting older, I want to give a shout out to my friend before we go any further right now. This is Kathy Colt Posner, and I'm going to put her her banner up here. She has been such a help for me in revamping the LinkedIn page and all of this. And it's in the middle where we celebrate. Bob Goff says it's in the middle where all the good stuff happens, and
Mm.
people are I feel like, from career to calling, as cliche as that sounds, but that's exactly where I sit right now. And I know you each have the same story as well. Like, you did a
Hmm.
career for so long, and then you found what feels like a calling in your career, correct? Wouldn't you say, you guys?
Yeah.
I'm going to crawl this at the bottom here. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. No problem. For me, it came at a young age. I was kind of in the mindset of, yeah, I knew where I was going and everything, but the call to ministry, which I wasn't called, I was bushwhacked, but that's that's the longer story. But I think we all have a need for feeling like our life has purpose.
Mm.
And sometimes as we grow older and hopefully wiser, there are shifts that take place periodically. It could be an incident. It could just kind of come out of the blue where we just stop and question, am I really making a difference? Am I really living into my potential? So, yeah.
That's
And
good.
I love the work that she's doing, helping people refocus, because it's not what we see, it's how we see.
Oh, and what a great transition that is for another section I have here. But I just want to say that she's super cool too. Kathy is relatable and kind and on her game and smart and helping people to pivot, if you will. Every time I use the word pivot, I think of that friend, remember the friend scene with the couch, pivot. And sometimes life feels like that, pivot. But nonetheless, I'm grateful. I have to put her in the grateful mix for this week, especially. But when you're talking about seeing it, Pastor Charles, let me see if I can transition over here. I'm going to keep that banner crawling at the bottom if you're interested in having Kathy Posner help you. As well. There's all her information. But we also, I say celebrated, and I realize I'm choosing that word, but it really was a celebration, and it is every year. But on January 15th is when we know that our friend Chappelle Letman, by our account anyway, we have to assume that was the day he got his angel wings 5 years ago, January 15th. And if you listen regularly, you know that Chappelle Letman was such an inspiration for me just by how he led by example. And if you're a regular listener, you're like, oh my God, here she goes again with this Chappelle story. But if I could share it just in honor of, again, it occurs to me, the dash between his birth date and his death, right? Remember the poem, The Dash?
Yeah,
Like, what will you do with it? What will you do with it? And, none of us are guaranteed the next day. And what I learned from him of many things, he was a sculptor, you can see there. And he lost his sight as an artist, a painter. Okay. And lost his sight. His mom died shortly after. It was just a time in his life where no one would have faulted him for saying, really, God, really? But he didn't. He pivoted. He did. He said, all right, let me see. Maybe I could try my hand at sculpting. So he would sculpt all hours of the night, these huge slabs of stone, all different kinds of stone, and polishing and grinding. And literally, they would have a hole through them. So the time and the hours that he spent, and he told me that the whole time he was doing it, he was having conversations with God. He didn't say I would pray while I work. He said I was having conversations with God. And the way I met him, our friends, the Forsgrens, bought a sculpture of his, and they said that they felt his energy, his mojo, his vibe with this sculpture that sat in, I think, the foyer of their home. That was a powerful thing. And I said, I need to meet this guy. So we become friends, fast friends. And not only then, in the time that we were friends, not only was he still so positive and encouraging, even though he couldn't, he saw people with eyes that couldn't see. He said he felt like he could see better for having not having that
Mm.
luxury, if you will, of being able to judge them first physically.
Yeah.
So I just was continuing to learn from him. Well, sure enough, in the time that we were friends, he's diagnosed with prostate cancer. He has a hip replacement that doesn't heal well. And after, he stayed in therapy for a week after that hip replacement. And I picked him up, and it was this cold, rainy, sleety, flying in your face sideways kind of day in Cleveland. And I said, "Really, God?" As I put him in the passenger seat, I'm like, "Could you give the guy a break?" I mean, it was an achy bones kind of day. He just had a hip replacement. And I closed the door, I put my seatbelt on, and I look up, and here he is with put this picture up because this is closest one I can find. This is what I'm looking at, but he's got a big, white, teethy smile, and he said, with his Stevie Wonder glasses, and he's like, "I love the rain." And I said, What is wrong with you?" "I love the rain." Its face is all streaked with the rain, and I had all these questions for God, and here he is, "I love the rain." And you know what he said? And I try to share it every chance I can get, including right now, because I think that it will change the way y'all think about the rain. I know it has for me. That he said, "I love the rain because on the day we buried my mama, it rained. And I feel like in the rain that she's reaching down and touching my face."
Yeah, that's beautiful. No, I gotta share this out. Can I share a scripture real quick?
Yes, please.
Just how we are to live and how much we miss, in my opinion, and I don't mean this as judgmental, just observational. But in First Thessalonians, Paul says, he tells us that we should never stop praying. And I love how Chappelle talked about conversation. So many people pray, and we're praying words that we've been taught, and it's really more in the realm of vain repetitions that the Bible talks about. But to have conversation with God,
Yes. Amen.
that is prayer. And
Amen.
it says, be thankful in all circumstances. And we've talked about this before. There's some circumstances where you do want to just say, really, God? But everything, Romans 8:28, works together for good. So even though I may not see it or understand it in this moment, I got to know in my knower that this is not looking too cool right now, but I know God's got a blessing. And I know there's a a pony in here somewhere. You know the pony story, the two little boys?
I think we're about to know it. You know it, Rich?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
These two little boys stuck in a barn up at the hayloft level, and the barn is just filled with horse manure. And it's hot summer day, and it's stinking, and the one little boy starts crying and finds a stool and just sits down on a stool crying his eyes out. The other little boy spies a shovel, and he starts digging like crazy in the horse manure. And the little crying boy says, "What are you doing? You're making it stink worse." And he says, "Hey, all this horse manure, there's got to be a pony in here somewhere."
Oh, right. I've heard it. I've heard it. Right. It's perspective. We said it a million times. And I keep thinking
Exactly.
the
And
power
how,
of perspective and prayer
yes,
to pivot. There you go.
yes,
Huh?
there you
Yeah.
go. There's the pivot.
Yeah. Rich, thoughts?
Yeah. No, I was just thinking of those moments of awe. Those are the ones that are so special to me. You get up and
Yeah.
you see the sky and the sun and the clouds are just hitting just right. Or, I always have these moments when I'm on a boat and I'm out to sea and I just see the vastness of the water, and things moving. Like those are prayerful moments for me. Those times where you kind of, and you feel it in your heart, like that movement, and you just know it's the Spirit pushing you through to see something amazing to remind you that it's all going to be okay. One way or another, it's all going to be okay.
Amen.
Yeah, and the people that show up along the way, if we didn't have the hard times, we would never have opportunity to see God at work through other people. That's the
Mhm.
truth. It really is. And if you know it,
Mhm.
you know it, you know.
Yep.
I thought this was great. We found when we talk about God weaves, now watch him work. This is from online from She Journeys with Him. And it says, God doesn't just bring people into your life by chance. He handpicks those. I believe that, who will strengthen your walk, ignite your passion, and stand beside you in every season. And again, that's what Kathy has been for me, showing up now and helping with the LinkedIn page and all of that. And I see it. I see it. I'm like, it's not an accident. We met years ago. But here she is, you know, helping again. So we say all of this to just, if you're listening, what is it? What is it that's right before you? What is it that's kind of
Mm. Mhm.
show up today, you
Mhm.
know, because you took the next best step.
Yep.
And as always, we're talking to ourselves here, right, guys, as well.
Yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
want to put this picture up. I have this loaner car because my car is in the shop. Again, grateful for that, so that you can still get all your errands run, keep all your appointments, you know. But sure enough, enough, the I don't know, like, all the gadgets, I mean, all the way everything works in there. I'm used to my own car, and so the windshield wiper in the back was on somehow. Clearly, I had turned it on, but there was no reason for it to be on, and I couldn't figure it out. And sure enough, the light comes on that the front tire is low. So I'm not in my own car, but I pull into Valvoline, the first one I saw, and there's a line, and this Tony comes up and he's like, "Can I help you, ma'am?" He was so nice, so nice. He's over there on the left. I said, "Now look, this might be like a commercial waiting to be made, but do you have any idea how to turn this windshield wiper off?" I realized he probably has never had that question ever at his oil change job, you know. But she's like, "Oh, let me see." So he figured it out, and I said, "And by the way, you know, I do come to y'all with my normal car, but this is a loaner, and it says the tire's low. Would you mind to put some air in there?" They checked all of them. They were, I think, 3 of them were actually low, and I thought, you know what? Can I just grab a picture of you guys? They're like, "Come on, everybody, gather around." These are the people who were working that day. It's like they called it Family Picture Day. And I said it's appropriate because it's for the Good Stuff family. But there you go. Just look at them. These are the friends at Valvoline on Olive in St. Louis, the Olive Clarkson area there. And I'm just super grateful for them. I'm so grateful for them and all that they were super kind. And again, people, if you're listening, maybe you're like, you know what? It's their job. They work there. Not really. I didn't pay them a darn thing. You know, just kind. Yeah. You relate, you guys. You picking up when I'm
Oh,
laying down?
you know, I
Yep.
think if we all took the perspective that in all the professions that we do, we're in the business of people. And
Yes.
whether it's
There
service,
it is.
whether whether it's a good or whatever it is that they're requiring, if we all took that perspective, how much kinder it would be if we realized that those interactions were people, not just money, not just goods, not just services, but people.
Yes.
So true. And again, we go back. Look, again, I can't help but notice the theme when we're talking about Kathy Posner, who helps people in finding where their hearts are going to be in their career so that it becomes a calling as well. That's what you said. It's people, people, people. And hopefully, again, you're listening. Who am I? Remember Admiral Stockdale back in the day when he ran with Ross Perot and Saturday Night Live used to make fun of him, and they'd be like, because he couldn't hear, and he's like, "Who am I? Why am I here?" Right? Remember that?
Yeah.
So if you're listening and you feel like that, what? Who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? Um, I think that where you are, again, speaking to ourselves, rather than where you're going right now, right here, right now, where you are is a chance to see the good in others and be the good for them. That's the legacy we leave. Again, you can wrap it right back around to Chappelle. I mean, by his example, against everything you could imagine, his legacy, 5 years still now to the day, almost after his death, is that he chose to be grateful.
Yeah. And Doug, that's powerful right there, because how many times we use a cliche expression, I had no choice. Well, you always have a choice.
Mhm.
But we are so inculcated into thinking of the limitation, but we could do such amazing things, as the scripture says, only believe. Choose to believe, choose to step out. Some people think, oh, there's no way that I could make a difference. You could make a huge difference by simply holding the door for someone.
It's true, isn't it? In a smile. You ever notice that? Like,
Yeah,
you've been walking in the park or in the
yes,
neighborhood, people tend nowadays to just let's just pass them and get past them. But you smile, and then next thing you know, it's almost impossible not for them to smile back. It's true. Little things, huh?
and we're tempted to operate out of fear rather than faith.
Okay. All right. That'll preach from the pastor.
I usually say inaction is still a choice.
Yes,
Like when you choose
absolutely.
not to act on something. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if you're listening in podcast mode, I just pulled up this graphic that we keep always in our queue here from John Wesley. Do all the good you can,
Yeah.
by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, in all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as ever you can. Do all the good. First 4 words. Do all the good.
You know, I have to share a quick story from just this past week. I was in Walmart to get something, and as I checked out and everything was going out, there's a gentleman works for Walmart that was at the door, and as I went through, something in my bag set the alarm off, and he said, "Sir, can I check your check your packages and everything?" I said, "Absolutely." And so I walked back to him, and he was on kind of one of those rollators that you can sit on.
Mhm.
And after he checked everything out and he thanked me for walking back to him. He said, you wouldn't believe the number of people that make me come to them. And he says, and it's my job and I do it, but I really appreciate that you came back to me. It's just,
Yes, that's a great example. The tiniest of things
yes,
of considerate, just being considerate
yeah,
and that we can make it second nature. Wow. So thank you for sharing that. That's it. There's no act of kindness too small to not be used.
exactly. And I told him I was appreciative of him acknowledging that. I mean, it was, in my mind, it wasn't a big thing to walk back to him. I mean, obviously he's sitting there on the roll later, but I don't know.
And
I'm
that
gonna
we
shut up.
we have purpose. It's a purpose. We'll talk about the purpose-driven life. It can be in the tiny,
Mm,
the minutia of our lives,
yes,
really, to make it count.
yes.
Well, and what a hidden message from God to come back to me. Thank you for coming.
Okay.
Thank you for coming back to me.
Ooh,
You know, just in that little bit of action.
sure.
Yeah, yeah, yep, yep.
That's good stuff, you guys. That's good stuff. All right, well,
God stuff.
oh, go ahead. What'd you say?
No, I just said good stuff, God stuff.
It is the best. We believe really the best good stuff
Yeah.
is always the God stuff. It really is, and to have eyes to see Him in everything. That's the challenge and the privilege, really, the privilege to be able to. And so, I'm keeping an eye on the time. Is there anything else you guys want to add?
Well, I just say just for people to remember, you are always at choice. And the Bible talks about that, going back to Joshua, choose this day who you will serve. And that's how are you going to serve God in your thinking, in your actions? And again, even in your thinking, because Paul said, bring every thought into captivity and make it obedient to Christ. You know, you
Who
got to
else
quit.
needed that right now? I needed that. I needed that. Who else needed that? Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Rich?
And I would just leave with, in all that we have the ability to do good, is one step forward to greatness and to coming to the realization of what God's plan is for us. So don't be afraid to do a good thing for yourself, for someone else. It could mean the world to them.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
And always remember that God, your Father, I mean, for me, I just want to be a good son to my Father, to my Abba. Mm-hmm. But he's going to love me no matter what.
Right. And the opportunities for people to see Christ through us, like to emulate him. I mean, whoa, imagine, you know, if in fact the guy that you came back to said, you know what? I think I'll have what he's having, you know. Yeah. That's cool. That's cool if we could do that. So I want to thank you both for waking up with us this morning again to do this podcast every Friday morning. Again, if you're listening in podcast mode, you can find us on the Good Stuff Family with Don Kendrick on YouTube. And if you're inspired, we'd be so grateful if you would subscribe and share. And so to that end, we say it every week when we wrap up, y'all. It's not hard to do. See the good in others. Be the good for them. On your mark, get set.
Let's go.
Sometimes it's good to just dance.
You've been listening to Don Kendrick's The Good Stuff Family Podcast. If you found inspiration here, would you click subscribe, follow, share as we grow our Good Stuff family tree? Check out thegoodstufffamily.com for links to all our social media platforms and for how you or your business could sponsor a story. The Good Stuff Family, reaching and touching hearts around the world by weaving families together one story at a time. On your mark, get set, let's go.
Well, I got a suggestion. Sometimes it's good, so just dance. Come along,